So this is the self-development with tactics. Book. So, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And as you can see in the background, and my fucking notebook is so fucking loud. I'm sorry, I hope it doesn't bother you. Maybe I can just close something. Before I start the episode and before I talk to you, maybe there is something I could just close, but I don't think so. He's extremely loud. Nevertheless, we will talk about the hard thing. No, it's not actually. Is it? The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz, which is, I think, maybe I've been going through this book before on another website, but because I don't remember actually, I will just go through it, and we have finished both, I think. I do just have to write everything down the next time, so this time I will write every single book down that I'm going to discuss today, so actually I hope it will only be this one and that it will last for a little bit longer. But yeah, so that I just always know where I've stopped, what I should do, and what I shouldn't. So The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. Just before, because I've just seen that this is a book about business and being a CEO and being a leader of a company, I was wondering, how much wealth does Ben Horowitz has? And then I just looked it up and it seems to be like, just to let you know, 3.5 billion, which is definitely a fucking lot, and which is definitely for me a reason to go through the book. To really be honest, if he doesn't, or if he isn't that rich, I wouldn't read the book, because it would just show me, he doesn't know anything about business. He isn't an entrepreneur himself, and therefore, why should I just believe in what he's saying? But, let's go on. Entrepreneur Ben Horowitz has written The Hard Thing About Hard Things as a guide to starting and running your own startup. He shares his own journey with many helpful insights on how to be a successful CEO, how to create a company with a vision, and how to encourage work culture, how to hire, how to fire, and many more interesting tips. A great read for anyone looking for business hopefuls looking to start their own venture. And as you can see, and I will just show you right there, this is the contents, which is always a great thing about the paulminus.com website, that I assume he always shows what is actually in the book, so that you can actually be like, you will go through the summary and then you just see, is this something for you? Might this be something that you would like to read? And then you can actually go to the real, or if it is even I think it is actually the contents of this summary, but nevertheless you just have an overview of what is actually in the book, or what is in the summary and therefore in the book, and so you can decide pretty fucking quickly if you want to read the book or if you not want to read the book. And I'm still struggling with reading actually a book, because I always think I'm just working on this thing, and I'm just pretty much working all time on this thing. Whether I'm in the train, whether I'm at home, whether I'm here now, which is, basically the only leisure time, I quite have in my day. So I'm just coming home, eating something, showering, and then I just sit there and, make this episode, and until I go to sleep, I just work on this thing, which is nothing negative. It's just pretty positive for me, because it's fun for me, and I wouldn't do it if it's not something I would like to do. So, about the author, Ben Horowitz is an extremely experienced entrepreneur. Stemming from Silicon Valley, he was the co-founder of Andreessen Horowitz, a private venture capital firm. Known for his sense of humor and telling it like it is, Ben's writing is engaging and full of real-life advice and examples, which is definitely always a good thing to have real-life examples and real-life just kind of tips, because you then just see, this is something this guy has actually just proven that it works, or it just works, and it is something that is that has been tested in the real world, and not something like yeah, it's a theory, or it's like a thesis, I actually think. So it's definitely good, and definitely pretty fucking pumped to go through this right now, even though you might not hear it. I'm pretty fucking pumped to go through this. Never mind. But I'm actually looking forward for this book, even though I'm quite a little bit concerned that I have been actually going through this before. But you know what? Just going through it once again, it's always a good thing if you have more knowledge and more experience and more books just, in your mind, that you can actually say, okay, is this then actually something I believe in? Is this not something I believe in? Is it something new? If it is, something that's old. So, but the actual book summary. It doesn't always go to plan, which is definitely the truth. The title of Ben Books is The Hard Thing About Hard Things. He called it this book. He knows that as a CEO, you are constantly facing hard things. Every decision you make is hard. There are no easy options. When Ben explains that there is no secret to being a successful CEO, but being able to focus when required and make the best possible move in a truly terrible situation is a skill that stands out. You may be stuck between a rock and a hard place, but making the best move in a dear situation is what's going to help you make a difference as a CEO. And that's definitely true. And I just have to tell you a thought of mine, which is something that I again do have. And he's so fucking loud. What's going on here? What the fuck is he doing? Maybe I'll just close every fucking thing down that's quite open. Like, yeah, maybe this is doing better. I hope you hear me. Yeah, it's okay. As long as I'm pretty near to the microphone, I think you can still hear me pretty fucking well. So something I wanted to say is that there are people who are just meant to be certain, are meant to be working at certain jobs. Which is like, Gary Vee is meant definitely to be an entrepreneur because he has always been doing it. I don't know what I am. I've always been doing sports. I've always been playing with balls and, all these things that show I might be like, okay, after this journey and after I've just seen, okay, this isn't working maybe, or after I've done something else and after I've seen, okay, the graphic design area is nothing for me. I'm, definitely trying out if I can do something in the sports area because I'm definitely sporty and I definitely love to do sports. This is just really some kind of my passion, something that I pretty much like to do when I'm just, not doing this thing, or I'm not designing, or I'm not drawing, or some things, which is, something for me to be like, okay, is this what I've meant to be, or meant to work on, and this is just the thing that, because he was saying, okay, there's no secret to being a successful CEO, and there are actually some people that are meant to be CEOs, at my point of view, there are just, so many character traits, yeah, I think so, and we are all individuals and we all have our just, how should I say, we are all good at something and we all are bad at something, and this quite determines what you are, we are all meant to be something. You just have to quite find it out. The struggle. Ben explains the process of being an entrepreneur. You start with a company and a clear vision with success looming, and then you hire all the right people and create an environment that is stimulating and encouraging. And together you work on the vision, creating the perfect product that customers are going to love. You work day and night, shed blood and tears to get this done. But and there's normally a but. And there's normally a but. You reach a point where you realize that not everything is going as smoothly as you expected, which is, definitely something, which is, always the same thing if you have, just group projects or, you do, you're doing something with your partner and it's always like, you're falling behind the kind of time frame and you just, fuck everything up and, you probably know what I mean. And together you work on a vision, creating the perfect product the customers are going to love. And you work day and night, and I've read that one. there's a problem with the product and it's hard to fix, or the market has crashed, or your employees struggle and fail. It feels like the world around you is collapsing, and this is what Ben describes as the struggle. You haven't failed. Ben points out that reaching the struggle doesn't mean that you have failed, but if you are weak, it will cause failure. The majority of entrepreneurs reach this point are weak and ultimately let it define them. Ben uses examples like Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg to highlight how common it is to reach the struggle. They did, and look at their companies and products now, which is, definitely a pretty strong thing both of them just did, Especially I think Facebook is doing pretty fucking well, even though I always thought it wasn't just so popular in just nowadays society or society in terms of actually, the daily users. I always thought like, okay, Instagram is definitely just doing way better than Facebook, but you just always assume things by, how you're just living your life on yourself. So, which means that, I'm pretty much only quite using Instagram. Maybe, sometimes I'm on Twitter because I do have to check if the posts, weren't good, or just if there are any notifications or any just messages I got. But most of the time I'm just on Instagram, and then because of that, I just thought, okay, Instagram is, or has to be, just really that platform where everybody is. I've really never been like, okay, Facebook is the thing, but I actually only know one person who is actually actively kind of participating on Facebook, and really actively participating, which, just going into the app and just looking around for, I think, at least an hour a day. But yeah, no. Successful and extremely profitable. So you're not alone if you reach the struggle. It's pushing through here that can create greatness, which is actually, quite the same framework that Seth Godin in his book Dip was quite explaining, is that there is the certain dip, which is kind of a part in, everybody's journey, and then in this dip you practically or theoretically just decide whether this project is something for you, and then you just, quit it and do something else if you just see, okay, this is nothing that will just get me further to my goals, and just, it's not in terms of my values or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Or you just push through, and this is then the point where you just get successful, because the dip is definitely something that's not easy, and the struggle, as he just pointed out, is also not easy. And it's, if you just read it, it's like, okay, there are maybe some years of a little bit of struggle and so on, but it could definitely be more than 5 years, more than 10 years. And if you're really wanting to stick to this kind of project, or to this kind of, startup or company or whatever it is, then you definitely have to love it. I think you just for sticking with it or to it for 10 years, even though everything is not going well, is just an incredible amount of time. Ben's top tips for getting through the struggle is, or are actually, don't take it all on alone, which means that you should actually have some kind of partner, which is definitely something that I've been thinking about having as well, because I do think like, okay, having a company on your own and just being completely on your own might be too much, in terms of actually also my abilities, in terms of, me having not too much time, even though time is not the biggest problem. I have enough time, I just could create enough time if I just start my own company. But if you're just two-person, it is always good to have, because you can just discuss things, you can think about things in just two separate ways, and everything is a little bit, I would say, easier. Not everything, but a lot of things. It's complex like checkers and not chess. Not chess. I don't get this one. So if you hold out long enough, you might just get lucky. Definitely. Don't take it too hard, don't take it too personally, and don't take it personally at all. Remember, this is what separates the women from the girls and the men from the boys, which is definitely something that I've heard before, I think. But yeah, it's true, yeah, even though it's quite a little kind of, I don't know. It's a quote that's like, a generalization, and as you know me, I don't like generalizations because there are pretty much girls who make way more money than some women are doing, and the same way with girls, or the same thing with boys. Sorry, but yeah, CEOs. Ben explains that usually CEOs take on all responsibility for worrying about the company and its problems, which is definitely the thing they should be doing, and they should be the only ones who are pretty much responsible for everything that is happening, because they are the leaders. Which, it makes sense, even though it seems to be like a lot of CEOs just are like, he's to blame, it was his fault, and he's to blame, it was his fault, and no, it was her fault, I'm sorry. And quite a lot of times people just blame others, and really really blame others, even though they just quite either don't understand that it's their fault, it was their fault, or they just not wanna see it. Even though, and I just talk about it in a pretty short period of time. If you put yourself in a position where you're responsible for quite everything, you just put yourself in a framework where you are the only person who has the power to change everything. If you just give somebody else the power in terms of pretty much blaming them, then you just, don't create a framework for yourself to be able to pretty much do it. You can't just change anything if you blame somebody else, because he or she then has the power. However, Ben explains that there is no good being the only one worrying. Delegation is key in this situation. Identify the problem and who the problem is closely related to. If there is a coding issue with the website, the CEO is never going to be the one to fix it. So there is no point taking it upon yourself. And delegate to one of the programmers and let them fix it. They will likely be more motivated and certainly more capable of finding the solution. Context is everything, and this is definitely the truth. Especially in a design where you totally see that context is fucking important. It's really that thing. It's really key for certain designs. Without some keys or just some context or some additional objects or I don't know, type or whatever you're doing to your original design, it might change it completely. Definitely. Transparency. Ben believes that being transparent in your company is key. You need to build trust, and trust is really an important thing. If your employees, don't trust you and are like, he's not the best one, and I don't know, I don't trust him, whatever. This is not a good sign, because you are the leader. You lead the whole company, and therefore, if they don't trust in you, I don't know. This is not a fucking good sign, to be honest. You need this to build trust. In the absence of trust, communication breaks down and things stop happening. If there's a problem, be transparent about this, because the more brains trying to solve it, the quicker it's going to get solved. Bad news needs to be heard. As the CEO, you are probably under pressure to be positive all the time, but being upfront is likely going to get you more respect and ultimately more help. Just as I said, just pretty much telling all the people what the problem is might actually working, because even, I don't know, the internship boy who just joined a day ago might have an answer for your fucking question. Everything is quite possible. And I do just, quite understand that a lot of CEOs just do have their just leading team, some sort of this, where there's just, the really high ranked people like the CDO and the CFO and all these together just, create or pretty much lead the whole company, which makes sense because, as they said, a CEO alone wouldn't be a good thing. How to fire? I think firing is actually one of the just most difficult things that you will ever do if you are in a position to do it. Yeah, because you can just destroy somebody's life in nothing, quite nothing, really nothing. It is like, they do not have any money then, they do not have any food then, and if it's actually a family, everything is fucked, totally everything. And it is just incredible how much pretty much leverage you have over the employees you're having or that are working for you. There is a pretty nice way Gary Vee does it, at my point of view. It's definitely one of the one of the nicest things actually that I've quite heard, or I've quite maybe even realized. And he was like, okay, yeah, he fires a lot of people a day, and because he has a lot of work and employees, which is then definitely the thing that you just have to fire some of them every single day, especially if you do have a company that's been on the market for, I don't know, 8 years, I think it is, or 9 years actually. And then, which is something that he was been emphasizing, is that he actually will find another job for the people he's firing, or the people who are just willing to leave the company on their own. Not like, Gary fired them, but they just don't want to work there anymore. This is a pretty good thing and a pretty well thing to just, look after your fucking employees and just be nice, even though they are not your employees anymore. It's fine. It's totally great to get them a new job and get them even a job they might like more than working in your company, which is definitely something that could, come up as well. It's not like they totally like your company as much as you do it. They will never do, because it's not their company. It's your company, and this is kind of your baby. But yeah, how to fucking fire. Anyone who has ever had to fire someone knows it's not a very nice job. Ben has a few tips on the nicest way to do it. The first one is understand who you are firing and why. And I think this is actually a good thing, because you just actually pretty much think about it once more to actually, should you fire him or should you fire him not? The second one is do it as soon as possible and don't delay. Which is also a good thing, because, I wouldn't take as much time, as you can from the worker or the employee, because they just, maybe need to get a new job, and if you just, let them hang around for such a long time, they maybe do not have the possibility, maybe. The third one is train management so that they can lay off their own people. They are closer and have a better understanding. This was an incredible story that I've been going through today. While I was in a train, in the morning, in the really early morning, it was so incredible, and it was, such a nice coincidence actually. There was a story about the actual CEO of Honeywell. Honeywell is a firm or company that is actually doing quite a lot of things. I know it because, I know people that are working there, even in pretty high positions, and it's pretty interesting. They do just a lot of things. The main thing I would say, I'm not educated in their space. I think they are probably mainly doing quite electronical stuff, not in terms of actual devices, but some things for your home, like, I don't know, heaters and all these things, ovens, I don't know. There are quite a lot of things they do, maybe not ovens, but everything that's quite electrical and has an electrical component to it, and, the whole air conditioning thing and so on, and even, I think, military stuff, if I remember correctly, but never mind. It was actually the thing which is totally nice, and I'm just thinking if I should show you. Maybe I'm showing you afterwards. He's actually a guy, and he was... I think he was in a company already, or he was just hired. Let's say he was hired, because it would be a pretty nice one. So he was hired actually, and his main goals were, to just because Honey was doing a little bit of shit, and it wasn't doing well quite, and everything was going down, and so he came, and he actually managed to, a little bit spoil you, he managed to grow the company. Make some of the employees billionaires by 401k, and just make a lot of wealth himself, or just make a lot of money himself, which is just a win fucking win situation. Everybody got something from it. The employees got rich, the company was doing well again, and everything was doing well again, and he was doing well again. So there is no better option than this, which is just incredible. And if you want to look for it yourself, the actual post was on a Business Insider, I think .com website, and it was about Honeywell. It's like honey and well, yeah. and it was about the CEO of Honeywell, which he was from 2007 to 2000 and now I think 2019 I think. I don't know. But let's go on. The fourth one is, if there is a mass layoff, explain to the entire company what will be happening and why. Which is, I think, a pretty fucked up situation you could be in if you are a CEO. You know, this is something, you're not only destroying one life of one person, you're just destroying quite a lot of lives. Maybe, you know, it always depends what you're doing with the workers. If you're just being like, okay, just fuck you, I don't care about you. Or if you're actually, you know, going to get them a new job, which is definitely a thing I, as a CEO, would try. You know, it is definitely a lot of work to do if you're just laying off such a lot of people. Like, you know, if it's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, then it might not be working. But, you know, if there's 10 people, you might be able to just, you know, look for a colleague of yours, or just, you know, quite in another industry, or just in the same industry in another company. I think if you're just a CEO, you do have a lot of connections. So therefore, this might be just well or nice. Talk about what's happening and why don't make it a dirty little secret, and be transparent and real. I think this is pretty much correlated to the point above, which is totally true. Yeah, I think Gary always says that the CEO is working for the people, which is quite something that I haven't been understanding yet. You know, it's something I quite think about often, or pretty much every time I hear him saying it, and then I think like, okay, what does he actually mean? But I think being first of all honest and transparent to the people that are working in your company, at least, you know, I just understand that a lot of people do not share everything with the whole company, you know. Just, you know, the people who are cleaning the rooms do not have to know what business secrets you're having, or I don't know. Yeah, maybe the business secrets you can definitely give them, because it's just nice to put people on. I think, you know, if I just, you know, in the future have the leverage and have the audience and have the community, I will definitely look like, or just see if I can put down some of my friends if they're just, you know, really into producing as well, which is the case right now, and I'm just pretty much kind of waiting until I can do this. So this is just nice, you know, if you just can say, okay, you know, you are the reason why the other person has such a good job now, or has such a big, you know, community or agency or company or whatever now, which is, you know, must be an incredible feeling. People, then products, then profits. Ben believes that the crucial element of his business are taking care of the people first, which is definitely true. And this is something that I've quite learned through the Sam Walton and the Walmart summary, that you just have to take care of your fucking employees, even if you don't care about them, you know, in terms of like, you know, you give a fuck about them, but you just have to care about them because they maybe are dealing with your customers, and your customers are probably your king. And if you're, I would say, and I hate generalizations, if you're a good businessman and a good CEO, you might just know that your customer is just king, and customer is the only quiet source that, you know, pretty much gives you money. You know, you just, you just need the customer. You know, without the customer, you do not have any cash. If you have a product, if it's, I don't know, B2B is also a customer, so it's always about a customer. It's always about a customer. So yeah, and therefore, if you just, you know, treat your fucking employees just really, really fucking bad, they might not be as good to the customers as you want them to be, and therefore you just fuck your whole business again, internally this time. So therefore, just being like, okay, totally nice to your employees, because, you know, they are also, you know, besides the whole customer thing, they are also, you know, just oxygen for your company. If you're just alone in your, you know, really big company with, before, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 employees, yeah, what should you do? You know, it is tough. You can't just, you know, have a big company on your own. You know, just imagine if Coca-Cola just, I don't know, laid off all of their people. You know, what would they do? You know, yeah, okay. It might be like they just have robots now, and AI, and, you know, everything. Every machinery is doing their whole production, which is, I think, definitely a thing that is a a lot of it is just made by machines and so on, I think. Yeah, for example, filling the flasks or the bottles or whatever. But yeah, taking care of the people first, the product second, and finally the profits. If your company is a good place to work, you too may live long enough to find your glory. Totally. Make it a happy place to work. In the good times, being a good company won't make any difference, but it's in the rough times when things aren't going to plan that it matters. Ben explains that things always go wrong, and there is time where having a good company and happy employees is fucking important. If the company is facing tough times, this is when employees will leave. If you have looked after them and nurtured them, they will stick around and support you during the tougher times, which is totally the thing, and then just pretty much correlates to what I was saying before. Like, yeah, just take care of your employees. They are oxygen. Look after the people first. They are the cogs, whatever cogs are. Why people need training. Ben identifies that the most important asset to anyone running a technology company is the people. And for this reason, the recruitment process is extremely important. But just as important is the training once people are hired. The investment in your employees needs to continue to aid their growth. And here are Ben's top 4 reasons that you need to continue training employees. The first one is productivity is key. Train your employees how to work as productively as possible. Definitely a good one. The second one is there should be a system of performance management in place. Set expectations and have a system to track these. This will benefit the employees and employer. The third one is quality is essential. If everyone is trained the same way, then everything should fit together without inconsistencies. And the fourth and last one, employee retention is so important. Once you have hired someone, you have invested time and money into them. Ben identifies one of the key reasons that people leave a job is that they feel like their development has stalled or just, got on a plateau, some sort of, which is definitely something I think is pretty crucial to every person. You want to just have some challenges. You don't want to work something that's so, I don't know, unintelligent and it's so dumb and whatever, and you do not just, you can't think of anything but, I don't know, it's just a work everybody could do. So, to make it clear. But yeah. Bringing a big execution, I don't know, into a new company. Ben explains that there is a big difference between being a hotshot executioner, or what is it, at a big company and that of a small company. As a startup executioner or executive, it might be executive. You are a driver, nothing happens until you take action. Your input is the key driver behind the company's development, and without it, the company will stall. In comparison, Ben identifies an executive of a big company being able to sit back and work essentially comes to you. Things get done and come to you for final sign-off. Work is weighted towards incoming work rather than looking for work. There's always going to be a risk hiring someone coming from a big company into your startup. Ben explains that there are 2 types of mismatches that could happen or that happen. The rhythm mismatch, when your executive waits for emails, calls, and meetings to come to them rather than making them themselves or making them happen. And the second one is skill set mismatch, when skills of the executive are largely about prioritization, process improvement, and complex decision making. A startup needs someone who can contribute and provide input. There aren't processes in place to be improved, they need to be established. So definitely, I get what I mean. It's always in terms of hiring the right people and hiring the right people for this exact job. And Ben highlights the importance of keeping the communication lines open as new executives transitions into the company. Make sure they know what is expected of them. Totally important point. if you just hire somebody, they should actually know what they are doing in your fucking company. If not, it's not a good sign, I guess. And I'm just guessing. And to really round it up and, have something to say just before I end the episode, I do not know any fucking thing about business. I'm not a businessman yet. I do not have a company yet. I haven't achieved business-wise everything but all the data and all the numbers and all the things you can see on my social platforms or social profiles besides these things, I haven't achieved anything. I do not have a company. I do not have employees. I'm not an entrepreneur, I would say, even though I just quite some sort of belief that, doing the whole thing that I'm doing right now. So, I don't know, recording and, acting like a media publishing company is actually also some kind of business or some kind of company maybe. Which is something that you have pretty much to understand. You have to understand it because it will just change something. If you just believe yourself or think about yourself as a company or a CEO and especially a company, then you just see, okay, this is something different in terms of how you're posting your posts. Not putting out a lot of bullshit, but no fucking company would put out a lot of bullshit. It is something to really think about. So this is it. I think this went quite well. I hope you got something out of it. I think there is quite a lot in this book in general. Even though I quite feel like often in the books you can just see the same things, written down and so on, which is definitely for me a reason to just say, okay, you have enough knowledge and so now act. And at my point of view, just by acting, you just get to know such a lot of things. And I'm not joking and not telling any shit. This is just, at my point of view, the truth. Because when you're a practitioner and when you're just pretty much executing on what you've learned for a few years, then you just see that there will come up some problems you haven't expected, or you haven't learned of, or maybe I don't know. There are certain situations that you can't learn every situation. This is the point, and therefore, just being a practitioner and doing it is also something that helped me. Just thinking about making social media content and so on would not have been the best idea, I think. And with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, and very wonderful day or night, whatever time zone you're in. I wish you the best happiness, love, success, wealth, health. I hope you're giving back something because it is important. Because we all have such a lot, and giving away something, a little bit at least, won't hurt you, I think. And the last one, I hope you have a great legacy and just stay being nice and stay being the best person you can be, and just treat people right and don't judge them, I would say. With this being said, a lot of big words. And see you the next time.